There is a man who never got to hold his daughter as a baby. A woman who gave up everything safe and comfortable just to be with the person she loved. A family torn apart by war, by time, by distance, and somehow against every single odd. They found their way back to each other. That is not a fairy tale. That is the Fraser family. And if you think you have seen emotional television before, you have not seen anything yet. Because what this family goes through, what they sacrifice, what they hold on to, even when everything is falling apart around them, it will reach right into your chest and squeeze. These are not just romantic moments. These are the kind of moments that remind you what family actually means. Not the perfect version of family that you see in greeting cards. The real kind. The messy, painful, beautiful, worth every tear kind. So get comfortable. Maybe grab something to wipe your eyes. Because we are about to walk through the most heart-melting family moments in all of Outlander. And by the time we are done, you are going to feel every single one of them. Asterisk, before there was a family, there was a choice. And that choice was made in the middle of the Scottish Highlands, in the middle of chaos, by two people who barely knew each other. Claire Randall was not supposed to be there. She was a 20th century woman, a nurse, a wife, a person with a whole life already built. She touched an ancient standing stone called Craina Dun, and in one single moment, everything she knew was gone. She was thrown back 200 years into a Scotland full of danger, conflict, and a red-headed Scottish warrior named Jamie Fraser. Now, here's the thing about Jamie Fraser. He was not just some charming face. From the very beginning, Jamie showed Claire something rare. He protected her without making her feel small. He respected her opinions even when the world around him told men that women's opinions did not matter. He looked at her like she was a full person, capable, strong, and worth listening to. In the 18th century, that was not common, and Claire felt it. Their marriage started as a practical arrangement, a way to keep Claire safe from the brutal Captain Jonathan Blackjack Randall. But something real grew between them faster than either of them expected. It grew in quiet moments. In the way Jamie taught her to move through the Highlands without getting killed. In the way Claire used her medical knowledge to save lives around her. And Jamie never once told her to stop or slow down. In the way they argued like equals and made up like people who genuinely could not imagine losing each other, and then love hit them both fully, completely, and with no way back. That foundation matters. It matters because everything that comes after, every sacrifice, every reunion, every heartbreak, is built on what these two people chose to be for each other in those early days. They did not just fall in love. They built something. And what they built became a family that would stretch across centuries. Claire became pregnant. And that pregnancy, that tiny new life growing inside her, changed the weight of everything. Suddenly, it was not just about two people surviving. It was about what kind of world their child would be born into. It was about fighting harder, loving deeper, and holding on even when letting go felt like the only option left. Jamie looked at Claire carrying their child, and something shifted in him. You could see it. The man who had always been brave became something more than brave. He became a father before he ever held his child. He became a protector of something so precious that no sword, no enemy, no amount of danger felt manageable anymore, because the stakes were now higher than his own life. And Claire, carrying that baby, carrying that love, looked at the life she had left behind in the 20th century and made peace with the fact that this right here, right now in this dangerous and difficult world, was where she belonged. Not because it was easy, because it was real. Because Jamie was real. Because the family they were building together was the most honest thing she had ever been part of. That is where it all began. Not with a perfect moment. Not with a perfect plan. But with two imperfect people choosing each other, and in doing so, starting something that time itself could not destroy. Asterisk, picture this. You have a daughter. She laughs, she grows, she takes her first steps, says her first words, falls down and gets back up again. She becomes a person, a full, real, beautiful person. And you miss every single second of it. Not because you chose to, not because you stopped caring, but because time itself stood between you and her. Because the only way to keep her safe was to never be there at all. That is not a scene from a nightmare. That is Jamie Fraser's reality. When Claire discovered she was pregnant and the Battle of Culloden was closing in like a dark storm that could not be stopped, Jamie made the hardest decision a person can make. He sent Claire back through the stones, back to the 20th century, back to safety. He put his unborn child's life above his own need to be a father. He said goodbye to Claire, knowing, truly knowing that he would likely never see her again. And he did it anyway. Because that is what real love looks like when it is tested all the way to its breaking point. Think about what that moment cost him. Every other man going into that battle had something to hold on to, a home to return to, a face to fight for that they could actually picture waiting for them. Jamie walked into Culloden carrying nothing but the memory of Claire's face and the knowledge that, somewhere, in a time he could never reach, his child was going to be born without him. His child would grow up without ever knowing his voice, without ever feeling his hand on their shoulder, without ever hearing him say, "I am proud of you. I see you. You are mine and I love you." He carried that silence for decades. And yet, and this is what makes Jamie Fraser one of the most deeply written characters in television. History, he never stopped being a father. He loved Brianna before he ever knew her name. He loved her through letters he never got to send. He loved her in the quiet moments when he would sit alone and wonder what she looked like, whether she had Claire's eyes or his stubborn jaw, whether she was brave or gentle or both at once. He built a relationship with a daughter who did not even know he existed, and he built it entirely inside his own heart. There is a moment in the show that captures this in a way that is almost too painful to watch. Jamie is given a photograph of Brianna, a small, simple photograph, the kind we take every day without thinking twice. But for Jamie, that photograph was everything. He held it like it was made of glass. He studied her face the way a man studies something he has been starving for. And when the emotion finally broke through, and it did break through, completely and without warning, it was not loud or dramatic. It was quiet. The kind of grief and joy mixed together that has no name because no word is big enough to hold it. He touched that photograph and whispered her name, Brianna, his daughter, real, alive, grown, beautiful, and so far away that no horse, no ship, no road could ever close the distance between them. That single moment told you everything about what kind of father Jamie was. He did not need to be present to be devoted. He did not need birthdays and bedtime stories to build a bond. His love for Brianna existed in a dimension that time and distance simply could not touch. It lived in him the way breathing lives in a person, automatic, constant, impossible to stop. And when Brianna finally came through the stones, herself, when she made the terrifying decision to travel back through time to find her father, the reunion that followed was not just a television moment. It was a reminder of something deeply human, that the love between a parent and a child does not need years of shared memory to be real. It does not need a history of tucking in and waking up and sitting across the breakfast table. Sometimes love is already fully formed before two people ever meet. Sometimes it has been waiting, patient, and unshakable. Across 200 years of silence, Jamie held his daughter for the first time as a grown woman. And in that embrace, every missed birthday, every unheard laugh, every moment he was not there, none of it disappeared. But somehow, it all became worth it. Because she was here. She was real. And she was his asterisk. Most people spend their whole lives searching for a place where they belong. A city, a house, a country, somewhere that feels like it was made for them. But every now and then, if a person is very lucky, they discover something that changes that search completely. They discover that home was never a place at all. It was always a person. And for the Fraser family, that truth did not just apply to Jamie and Claire. It ran through every single member of this family like blood through a vein. But let's talk about Claire for a moment, because her story of belonging is one of the most quietly devastating things this show ever put on screen. Claire existed between two worlds for years. She had a life in the 20th century, a career she had built with her own hands, a daughter she had raised alone, a version of herself that was respected and capable and complete. And she had Jamie, 200 years in the past. In a Scotland that was dangerous and raw and nothing like the world she came from. For a long time, those two lives pulled at her from opposite directions like a rope in a tug of war that never ended. And here's what the show understood that most stories get wrong. It never pretended that choice was simple. It never told Claire or the audience that love automatically makes sacrifice feel painless. There is a specific kind of silence that only exists in the most honest human moments. Not the silence of emptiness, not the silence of awkwardness, but the silence that falls when something so real and so true is happening right in front. A view that words would only get in the way. Outlander understood that silence better than almost any show ever made. And nowhere was that understanding more powerful than in the small, quiet, easily missed family moments that did not announce themselves with dramatic music or sweeping camera shots. The moments that just happened, like real life happens. Unexpectedly, imperfectly, and, because of that, completely. Unforgettable. Let's start with something that sounds simple on the surface, but carries an ocean underneath. It taught Jamie Fraser teaching his grandson to fish, no battle, no time travel. No villain closing in. Just an old warrior sitting at the edge of water with a small boy beside him, teaching him something slow and patient and quiet. And if you watched that scene and felt something move inside your chest, it was not by accident. Because what you were really watching was a man holding everything he had almost lost. A man who once sent his own child away to save her life. Who spent decades loving people across distances that should have made love impossible, sitting in the warm, ordinary light of a life that came back to him, piece by piece, year by year, until one morning he woke up and there was a grandson beside him asking to learn something simple. That is not a small moment. That is the whole point of everything, because Outlander, at its deepest level, was never really about time travel. It was about what people are willing to endure to get to moments exactly like that one. The battles and the heartbreak and the impossible journeys were never the story. They were the price. And scenes like Jamie and his grandson at the water's edge were the show quietly showing you what that price bought. What all of it, every sacrifice, every goodbye, every crossing of stones and centuries was actually for. Now think about Claire in her later years at Fraser's Ridge, a woman who had lived multiple lifetimes inside one, who had been a nurse in World War II, a time traveler, a healer in the 18th century, a mother, a wife, a widow, and then somehow, miraculously, not a widow anymore. A woman who had held dying soldiers in a field hospital and held her own daughter's face in her hands and held Jamie when the world tried to break him. By the time Claire settled into life at Fraser's Ridge with her family around her, she carried all of those versions of herself inside her at once, and you could see it in the quiet moments. The way she moved through that house, purposeful, present, deeply aware that what she had was rare. The way she looked at Jamie across a room full of family noise and chaos and let herself feel the full weight of the miracle that they were both still there, still standing, still together. After everything, there is a particular kind of gratitude that only people who have almost lost everything can truly feel. It is not the loud celebratory kind. It is quieter and deeper and more permanent than celebration. It lives in the body, in the way you reach for someone's hand without thinking, in the way a meal shared with people you love tastes different from any meal eaten alone. Claire Fraser wore that gratitude in every scene at Fraser's Ridge. Not as a performance, as a truth that had been earned through decades of pain and persistence. And then there is the moment. And if you know this show, you already know exactly. Which moment this is when the entire Fraser family is together under one roof. Jamie and Claire. Brianna and Roger, little gem running between adults' legs with a kind of fearless energy that only children who feel completely safe can produce. Murtaugh's memory hanging in the air like a warm presence even in his absence. The ghosts of everyone they had lost sitting gently alongside the living. A fire burning. Food on the table. Voices overlapping in the comfortable, unorganized way that voices do when people are completely relaxed around each other. Fraser's Ridge in those moments was not just a location on a map. It was proof. Proof that love, when it is stubborn enough and real enough, can actually build something that lasts. That a family scattered across centuries and continents and impossible circumstances can still find its way to a table, to a fire. To each other, Jamie looked around that room in one of those moments, and the expression on his face was not happiness exactly. It was something older and quieter than happiness. It was the expression of a man who had stood on a battlefield, expecting to die, and instead lived long enough to see his family whole. A man who had whispered his daughter's name into an empty room for 20 years and now could simply turn his head and find her there, real and laughing and completely his. That expression did not need a single word of dialogue to explain itself. It was the entire show in one human face. And that is ultimately what Outlander gave its audience that almost nothing else on television ever has. It gave them the full journey. Not just the romance at the beginning or the drama in the middle. It gave them the arrival. The moment after all the fighting and surviving and losing and finding again. When a family finally gets to simply exist together, loudly, messily, imperfectly, and with a joy so deep it has roots that reach all the way back through time. Asterisk, so here we are, at the end of the journey, and if you have made it this far, if you have sat with all of these moments and let them land the way they deserve to land, then you already understand something that takes most people a long time to figure out. Family is not a given. It is not something that simply exists because people share the same blood or the same last name or the same roof. Family is something that gets built, slowly, painfully, through choices that cost something real, through sacrifices that nobody applauds, through showing up for people even when showing up is the hardest thing in the world to do. The Frasers did not have an easy story, not even close. They had loss that would have broken most people completely. They had distance, not just miles of distance, but centuries of it. They had moments where giving up would have been completely understandable, completely human. And yet, they never did. Not Jamie, not Claire, not Brianna, not Roger, not a single one of them ever decided that the people they loved were not worth fighting for. And because of that stubbornness, that deep, quiet, unshakable refusal to let go, they've got the thing that most families only ever get pieces of. They got the whole table, everyone present, everyone accounted for, everyone home. Now, think about your own life for just a second. Think about the people sitting on the other side of your door right now. The ones who know your worst moods and love you anyway. The ones you take for granted on ordinary Tuesdays without even realizing you are doing it. The ones whose voices you have heard so many times that you have stopped truly listening. Think about them, because that is what Outlander was always really trying to say. Not just through the romance or the history or the breathtaking Scottish landscapes, but through every single family moment it ever put on screen. It was saying, look at what you have. Look at it the way Jamie looked at that photograph of Brianna. The way Claire looked at Jamie, across a crowded room at Fraser's Ridge. The way Roger held his son like holding him was the only thing in the world that mattered. Look at your people like that, while you still can. Because time, as this show reminded us in the most beautiful and devastating way possible, does not wait. It does not pause while you get around to saying the thing you have been meaning to say. It does not slow down so you can appreciate the ordinary Tuesday dinner before it becomes a memory. It moves constantly in one direction. And the only thing any of us can do is choose right now, today, in this moment, to be as present as possible for the people. who make our lives worth living. That is the real gift Outlander gave its audience. Not just a love story, not just a history lesson wrapped in a Highland romance, but a reminder. A loud, emotional, beautifully crafted reminder that the most extraordinary thing a human being can ever experience is not time travel or adventure or survival against impossible odds. It is belonging to people who would cross any distance to find you. The Fraser family crossed centuries for that feeling. And watching them do it, watching them fight and fall and rise and find each other, again made millions of people around the world quietly look at their own families with softer eyes. And if this video did even a small version of that for you today, if it made you feel something real, something warm, something worth carrying with you, then it did exactly what it was supposed to do. Now it is your turn. Drop a comment below and tell us which Fraser family moment hit you the hardest. Which scene made you pause the episode just to sit with what you were feeling? Which moment made you pick up your phone and call someone you love? We genuinely want to know. Because this community, the people who show up for these videos, who feel these stories as deeply as you clearly do, you are the whole reason we are here. If you are new and this is the first time you have found this channel, welcome to a place that takes storytelling seriously. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss what comes next. And if you know someone who loves Outlander or someone who just needs to be reminded today of what really matters, share this video with them. Sometimes the right story at the right moment changes everything.